Welcome to Movie Recall. In today's video, we will be going through the 2019 movie Sunrise in Heaven. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The movie starts and we see a cold couple driving through a secluded area where streets seem to be empty. The couple seems really happy and talking in a very affectionate manner with each other. It is then revealed that the couple has just gotten retired and they are now about to start a new chapter of their lives, which seems really fun to them. They now have the freedom they always wanted. They have a bunch of possibilities in front of them and are both excited to think about the fact that they can actually do anything they want now. Anything is possible for them. They find it hard to hold in their excitement, and the wife then goes on to tell the husband that it is really going to be fun. It is revealed that they have lived a hard life that was just full of hardships. They, however, call this new phase of their life a rewarding phase. This is when it all changes. They get into a very bad accident, and it seems like they are not going to be taking the route they were planning to take. Some other people arrive and gather around their vehicle, and then the professional gets there. They go on to help the wounded old couple out of the car. This is when we get to see that the pictures of the couple having a life they were imagining, and then the scenes where they were being taken to the hospital after having gone through a terrible accident. The scene then changes way back in 1962, and we are taken to what seems like a military academy as we see three boys in uniform. They go on to get in line to get some food at the cafeteria. One of the boys looks at the girl serving the food and he is fascinated by how beautiful she is. He keeps looking at her and he gets lost in her eyes, but then she breaks the silence by asking him if he wants potatoes, and he goes on to tell her that he would love potatoes. He then tries to make small talk with the girl, but she tells him to keep moving as the others are waiting in line. He reluctantly goes away as the others laugh. He tells the girl that he is going to see her tomorrow. The girl, however, does not say anything and happens to have a very neutral expression on her face. The scene then changes to the girl making her way back home as she sees her father sitting in the chair reading a magazine. He goes on to ask his daughter about her job. She tells him how it has been going, and then the man asks her if she is dating anyone from the military guys. She tells him that she is dating no one. He still goes on to stretch the conversation, telling her that he is really concerned about her, adding that she should never date a GI as all the GIs happen to be really reckless. He tells her that they are not at all right for his beloved daughter. The scene again changes back to the present, and we are taken to the hospital again. The old woman from earlier is shown with bruises on her face. The doctor comes to see her and goes on to tell her that she is lucky that she just got a sprain on her shoulder despite having gone through a terrible accident. He gives her the bad news. He tells her that her husband was not so lucky because right now he is in surgery and the man has suffered a spinal cord injury that could leave him paralyzed for the rest of his life. He tells her that he cannot say any more as of yet, adding that he will get back to her after the surgery. The woman is too shocked to say anything. As she sits thinking about how her life is going to be from now on, she is joined by her daughter, who goes on to ask her about her dad. The mother tells her the bad news. Both mother and daughter go on to pray. As they do that, they are joined by the other daughter, who is as shocked to get the bad news. She, however, finds it hard to accept it and expresses her concerns over whether the doctors are doing all they can or they are just slacking. When the other two try to calm her down, she is, however, too concerned and goes on to say that she herself has worked at a hospital, so she knows these things from her experience. She then makes her way to the surgery to check what is going on. The scene then changes back to the past, and we are taken to the cafeteria again, where the same GI is there in front of the beautiful girl serving the food, and the GI has made it abundantly clear that he is interested in her. This time, he goes on to crack it up a notch as he tells her how beautiful her hair looks. She, however, shoots him down, telling him that she is not going to date a GI, making it abundantly clear that she is not at all interested. He does not say or ask anything in return and just gives her a smile. The girl expects that it might have hurt his ego, but he makes it clear that he is not egotistic as he walks away with a smile on his face. He is still hopeful, thinking that it is just the start. He goes on to express that in the upcoming time, his life could very much become more colorful, so he should not despair. Jan, the serving girl, is then sitting with one of her co-workers, and they go on to discuss the guy who has been showing interest in her. The girl goes on to ask Jan if she is interested in the boy, adding that he is a handsome one. Jan, however, tells her that she does not care if he is handsome, and it does not matter even if she likes him, because her father has made it abundantly clear that she is not going to date a GI, adding that if the boy is wearing a uniform with patches on it, that boy is not for her. The boy, Steve, shows up again to get food. This time, he goes on to tell her that he has heard that she is interested in going out with him. She looks at her colleague, to whom she talked about him earlier. Steve then compliments her hair yet again. The girl still does not budge. He then goes on to give her a very wide grin yet again, and goes away, but not before telling her that he is going to see her Monday. She finally gives off a smile, but it is not clear whether she is smiling at him or what he said. The scene again changes back to the present, and the doctor comes to the mother and the two daughters. He goes on to tell them that they are now allowed to see the father. When they get in there to see him, they all start crying as they see him covered with bandages and connected to many other things which seem really painful. They find it hard to see the man like that because they've always known him to be a strong man. The scene changes back to the past. We see Steve trying to make small talk with the girl on different occasions. He is shown trying his best to get her to talk to him, only to get shot down every time. When he asks her what she is doing, she in response tells him things like she is doing dishes or washing her hair. He keeps trying to talk to her in front of all the other people, while all of them laugh at how persistent he is to try and strike something significant to get the girl's attention. It still does not hurt his ego at all, and he always has that smile on his face and never shows anything close to despair or disappointment. The girl has now started getting impressed by his positive attitude as well, and one day, when he comes to take his lunch, he finally goes on to ask the girl if Sunday suits her, and finally gets somewhat of an answer as the girl goes on to say, maybe. Sunday comes, and it is a big day for Steve as he finally gets to take Jan on a date. They are joined by another couple as Jan's colleague is also on a date with her boyfriend. They decide to go for the movies, but Jan and Steve decide not to join them as they just want to sit and talk. After a while, the two go on a walk. Despite the fact that the girl has agreed to go on a date with him, she is still not very talkative and does not give up much information about her. The two then spot a nice place and sit there on a bench having a conversation. During this conversation, they do talk in somewhat intimate fashion. He goes on to tell her that she seems concerned over what kind of guy Steve is, adding that she can get rid of that concern because he can assure her that he's a decent man, unlike the other guys whom Jan might have come across. The scene changes back to the present and all three women are still in the hospital. It is revealed to them that the old man has awoken. They go to see him and they feel a little relieved at the prospect of him getting a little better. There is a ray of hope telling them that he might get healed. Back in the past, we see Jan inviting Steve over for dinner. Since her father is not okay with her dating GIs, she goes on to tell her parents that they are just friends. As they talk at the dinner table, Jan's mother seems okay with Steve, but her father definitely seems concerned, but he does not say it out loud. They go on to have a proper chat with the boy. In the next scene, it is revealed that 6 months have gone by and Jan is still dating Steve. One day, Jan is with one of Steve's friends named Robert when she goes on to talk about him to Steve. She says that she wants her father to see Steve the way she sees him. She does not want her father to see him the way he currently thinks about him. Robert knows how her father is, so he goes on to ask her how long she is going to wait for that to happen. She does not really have an answer, as she goes on to say that she is going to take as long as it takes. Steve is again invited over by Jan over dinner, and that night, her dad goes on to ask Steve if he can help him clear out his garage. Steve right away does not say yes and hesitates because he does not want to say no to the man. He cannot stay for too long either because it could very much interfere with his morning schedule, and because being a military guy, he has to wake up early. He just goes on to say that he has a morning class. Jan also wants him to leave, but he tells her that he can do it for her. He feels like he is being tested by Jan's father and wants to pass that test at any cost. The next day, Steve is shown sitting with his friend Robert, who goes on to tell him that Jan's dad is just testing him. He just wants to see whether his intentions are pure. Later on, when Steve is helping out her father, he gets into an argument with the man who tells him that he knows Jan and him are more than just friends, and he also calls him soft. The next day, her dad wears his uniform and makes his way to the military base where he is working. There, he is saluted by everyone, including Steve, who is currently guarding the gate. He then goes on to confront his daughter, saying that she has been lying to him for the last 6 months, adding that she is not allowed to see Steve anymore. Jan, however, does not agree. Back to the present, Steve, the old man, is at the hospital. The doctors tell the family that he is only getting worse, and the family now has to make a decision as to how they are going to deal with this situation. Back to the past, Jan sneaks out of the house to see Steve, who is waiting for her in a car. When they are in the car, the boy goes on to tell her that he is going to be transferred to Omaha, adding that before he leaves for Omaha, he wants to marry her. Jan tells him that he is going to have to get her father's blessing. Steve smiles at her and reassures her that he will get his blessing. Just then, a Jeep stops by and it turns out to be Jan's father. Her dad yells at Steve, telling him that he is not going to forget this. The next day, Jan's dad is cleaning his rifle outside the house when Steve shows up. He tells the man that he is there to ask for something. The man takes Steve target shooting. He tells Steve that if he is able to shoot a bottle that is 15 meters away from him, he will have his blessing. He, however, tells the boy that he only gets 2 chances. Steve misses his first one, and then the man goes on to ask Steve a lot of questions. Steve tells him that he is being transferred to Omaha. Jan's dad tells him that Steve is not going to stay loyal when he is that far away from Jan. Steve tells him that he is not like that and ends up missing the second chance to shoot the bottle as well. Back to the present, the old Jan asks Steve what he wants her to do, and Steve talks with his eyes. Jan understands what he is saying. She gathers his family, they all say a prayer, and decide to let go of Steve. Back in the past, the young Steve tells Jan that since her father has not given his blessing, they are going to have to break up as he is going away. Jan's mother then goes on to convince her dad by reminding the man that they too were in a similar situation once. He finally agrees. He then goes to see Steve and gives him the bottle he asked him to shoot earlier. It is shown that there is a hole in the bottle. It did not just crack. In the present, Steve is shown passing away. Jan is now alone, but she tells her daughters that she is going to be okay. And with that, the movie comes to an end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.